Cardi B never confirmed a relationship with Maduka Okoye, but within a matter of weeks, his name went from a viral Fashion Week moment to the center of a public dispute involving his ex, serious personal allegations, and questions about his relationship with his own son. The two storylines are connected by timing, not by substance, and untangling that is the whole point of this video. Start with what's actually confirmed. During Paris Haute Couture Fashion Week, Okoye, the 26-year-old Udinese goalkeeper and Nigerian Super Eagles no-one, was filmed sitting beside Cardi B at the Jean-Paul Gaultier Fall/Winter 2026 show. He helped her into her seat before the show began. A clip of the moment spread quickly online. The two were also spotted together later that week at the Maduka Okoye wiry presentation, appearing relaxed and chatting, and additional footage showed them talking on a balcony. Cardi was also drawing attention that week for a red Robert I haute couture gown she wore to a separate show, meaning she had two visible Fashion Week moments happening at once. TMZ, which first reported the Paris sighting, was clear that nothing had been confirmed about the nature of the relationship. That caveat has held throughout the entire story. No statement, no public acknowledgement, no source close to either of them going on record to describe them as a couple. About 2 weeks later came Venice. Okoye and Cardi B were seen dining at Gio's, a restaurant inside the St. Regis Hotel, seated with what was reported as a group of friends overlooking one of the city's canals. Cardi wore turquoise. Okoye sat beside her through the meal. There was no reported public affection between them, but eyewitnesses described the group as comfortable together, and footage of the dinner reignited the same. Rumors that had started in Paris. Several outlets noted this was the pairing sparking speculation again. Language that reflects this being a continuation of an existing rumor rather than a new development. It was within days of that Venice footage circulating that Jalisha Westhoff, the Dutch model who shares a 3-year-old son with Okoye, posted a series of Instagram stories that shifted the entire conversation. Westhoff and Okoye are no longer together. By her account, they separated after she gave birth to their son, Emiliano Isaiah, around the time she says Okoye told her about his sexuality. She stated directly that her posts were not about it. Cardi B, and pushed back on suggestions that jealousy was driving her statements, but the posts came immediately after the Venice dinner went viral, and every outlet covering her comments noted that connection in timing, even while acknowledging she denied any link in substance. Her allegations fall into 3 separate categories, and it's worth keeping them distinct, since they carry different weight and different levels of detail. The first involves infidelity. Westhoff said Okoye had been unfaithful throughout their relationship and alleged that he had been involved with partners of more than one gender without her knowledge. She added that he never publicly dated another woman during their time together, which she framed as connected to that undisclosed part of his personal life rather than as a sign of loyalty. She was careful to note that this wasn't the source of her anger. Her issue, as she described it, was the dishonesty involved, not anyone's identity or orientation. The second involves domestic violence. Westhoff alleged that Okoye had physically assaulted her on more than one occasion and claimed police had been called to their home multiple times. She said the situation wasn't a secret among people close to them and that she had spent years staying quiet publicly in order to protect his career and reputation, describing the toll of carrying that silence on her own. The third involves parental neglect, and this is where her account got the most specific. She said Okoye has seen their son only twice in all of 2026 and 3 times the year before. She described a health emergency in December 2025, alleging their son was hospitalized 4 separate times and required intensive care, and that Okoye was not present or involved during any of it. She said he rarely calls. She referenced her legal team directly, saying her lawyers had been urging him for months to take a more active role in their son's life, and predicted that his club, Udinese Calcio, might reach out to her after seeing her posts, suggesting she expected some kind of institutional response to a public allegation involving one of their players. She also used part of her posts to respond to critics who suggested she was reacting out of jealousy over the Cardi B rumors. Her response was that this had nothing to do with Cardi B specifically, and that what she shared had been building for years, separate from whoever Okoye may or may not be seeing now. As of the most recent reporting, Okoye has not issued any public response. He hasn't confirmed the claims, denied them, or addressed them through any channel. No statement from his club, no comment on his own social media, nothing through a representative. Cardi B has also said nothing, which isn't surprising given that Westhoff's claims center on her own history with Okoye rather than on Cardi's presence in his life. Still, the absence of any response from Okoye is the biggest open question in this story. Everything currently public about the abuse and neglect allegations comes from a single source, Westhoff's own account, with no independent documentation available. No police report has surfaced publicly. No court filing has been reported. No hospital record has been shared beyond her own description. That doesn't mean her claims are untrue. It means they currently stand as one detailed, serious account from one side of a former relationship, without third-party verification. To understand why this story spread as fast as it did, it helps to know who Okoye was before any of this. He was born in Düsseldorf in August 1999 to a Nigerian father from Anambra State and a German mother, giving him eligibility to represent either country. He chose Nigeria, making his senior international debut in October 2019 against Brazil, replacing an injured Francis Uzoho. His path through club football ran through German academy systems with Borussia Mönchengladbach, Bayer Leverkusen, and Fortuna Düsseldorf, before his professional breakout in the Netherlands with Sparta Rotterdam, where he won the club's Laatste Player of the Season award in the 2020-21 campaign, following 10 clean sheets. That form earned him a move to the Premier League with Watford in late 2021, though his time there was limited, and he was loaned back to Sparta Rotterdam before eventually joining Udinese in Serie A in August 2023, on a contract reportedly running through 2028. There's a separate professional controversy in his recent past, worth noting for context, though it isn't connected to the current allegations. In July 2025, Okoye was suspended for 2 months by Italian football authorities following an investigation tied to a 2024 match against Lazio. He was reportedly cleared of any intent to affect the outcome, but was found to have violated fairness standards in some capacity connected to the case. He served the suspension and returned to Udinese afterward. This is relevant not because it connects to Westhoff's claims, but because it shows this isn't the first time in roughly a year that Okoye's name has been tied to a serious allegation requiring outside scrutiny, the difference being that one was handled through a formal federation investigation, while this one is unfolding entirely through social media, with no official body involved so far. Away from the pitch, Okoye has built a public profile around fashion and lifestyle content that extends beyond football coverage, which is part of why his name crossed easily into entertainment press once the Cardi B clip went viral. He's been described in Nigerian sports and lifestyle coverage as one of the country's fastest-growing sports personalities, with a following shaped as much by his style and social media presence as by his performances in goal. That existing profile likely explains why the Paris clip traveled the way it did. He wasn't an anonymous athlete suddenly pulled into tabloid coverage. He already had an audience that followed him for reasons separate from his club form. There's also an earlier, smaller thread worth mentioning because it shows his name was already circulating in music and entertainment circles before Cardi B entered the picture. At a BET event earlier in 2026, singer Tems was reportedly asked about Okoye directly, and she laughed off any suggestion of a romantic connection, saying she knew who he was but not personally, and describing the relationship between artists and athletes in that space as closer to extended family than anything romantic. That exchange had already put his name into celebrity headlines months before Venice or Paris, suggesting his crossover appeal with music and fashion audiences predates the specific controversy by some distance. On the dating question itself, nothing has moved beyond speculation. What's verified is narrower than most headlines suggest. overlapping appearances at Fashion Week events in Paris, several filmed moments together that week, and a later group dinner in Venice. That's the entire confirmed record. No representative for either Cardi B or Okoye has stated they're together, and outlets covering the story have repeatedly emphasized that the public record consists of sightings and video clips, not statements from either party about what those sightings mean. What changed the tone of the coverage wasn't anything Cardi B or Okoye did. It was Westhoff choosing that moment to speak. Her allegations reframed a light-hearted celebrity dating rumor into a story about alleged mistreatment and absence, and outlets that picked up her claims were careful to attribute the specific language to her Instagram stories rather than presenting it as independently confirmed fact. That distinction matters. Reporting what someone alleged is not the same as verifying that it happened, and most coverage of this story has tried to preserve that line, even while describing allegations as serious as physical harm and undisclosed infidelity. It's also worth noting what hasn't happened in the week since Westhoff's posts went up. Udinese Calcio has not issued a statement. The Nigerian Football Federation, which relies on Okoye as a first-choice international goalkeeper, has not commented publicly. There's no report of a formal complaint being filed in connection with the domestic violence claims, at least not one made public, and there's still no word from Okoye himself. No denial, no confirmation, no attempt to explain or contextualize anything Westhoff shared. That silence is being read differently depending on who you ask. Some see it as a sign his team is advising against engaging with a personal dispute unfolding on social media. Others see it as an attempt to let the story lose momentum without giving it more attention through a public response. And some read it as evidence the matter is already being handled privately, possibly through the legal channels Westhoff referenced when she said her lawyers had been pressing him for months. Online reaction has split along similar lines. A portion of the response has focused purely on the Cardi B angle, treating the story as a celebrity dating rumor complicated by an inconvenient personal history. Another portion has taken Westhoff's allegations at face value and treated them as the real story, with Cardi B reduced to an incidental detail that happened to coincide with the timing. Neither framing currently has full confirmation behind it. So, here's where the story actually sits. A viral Fashion Week interaction turned into weeks of unconfirmed dating speculation between Cardi B and Maduka Okoye, spanning 2 cities and multiple public sightings, none of which either person has acknowledged as romantic. Separately, prompted by renewed attention around the Venice dinner, Okoye's ex and the mother of his child came forward